Hello everybody, Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 Kill Team channel on YouTube, unless you've actually searched Kill Team, in which case I'm obviously... Don't look into it, is all I'm saying. So we're doing another solo video today, another solo co-op video, a little way to enhance your own game. I say solo, it could be co-op, especially in this Fog of War video. So I want to talk about Fog of War, I want to talk about how it can enhance your solo games, and your co-op games as well. Very quickly, what is solo Kill Team? In the latest edition of Kill Team 2024, the core book had a very basic skeleton framework for the idea of how you can play against yourself and against or with a friend, presumably a friend, into an uncontrolled horde of enemies or elite operative controlled enemies, and that's pretty cool. What I really like about it is, yes, they kept the framework, the skeleton of it super lightweight because they didn't want to intimidate anyone. It can be built upon in very intuitive, natural ways, and in this little season series here that I'm doing, we started with Initiative. I'm now doing Fog of War. I'm also doing boss battles and custom operatives, but I don't know which order I'm releasing it in, so who knows. You can add tiny little systems to the game that I believe really enhance it, and they're not actually that much more work. It's great that GW gave us a nice lightweight system, but here's a few things that are good additions. So obviously Initiative was the first video, absolutely mandatory, and I think genuinely not including an initiative system of any sort was a bit of a mistake. But now we're going off piste on this one, chaps. So this is something that I think is fun in addition to the initiative system, and I think it adds another layer of not complexity, that's the wrong word, don't add that. Don't add that for no reason. This adds another layer of uncontrolled element to your game, which I think is good. The point of an initiative system is to stop you from having to play against yourself by removing the analysis paralysis and putting it on the onus of the system. Well, Fog of War does a very similar thing, but I'm also going to then branch out into how you can expand upon Kill Team as a game itself with the idea of dungeon crawling. Let's talk about it. Okay, so Fog of War. But oh wait, hold on. We can figure this out. Hold on. There we go. No, we're almost there. This has been a great video, hasn't it? There you go. Lovely. So the Fog of War basics. What is this? Fog of War, in case you're unaware, is typically coming over from the RTS, computer game RTS, real-time strategy genre, where you are not able to see the entire map. Okay, and that means that where the enemy is, their numbers, what their strategy is, completely hidden from you. So how can we replicate that really cool mechanic and bring it to the tabletop? So if we're thinking of just you on your Kill Team board, sat at your kitchen table, how are we replicating the idea that we can't see to the other side of the map, right? So let's start with an absolute basic idea. So enemies deploy on the board edge, D3, and then they are revealed when the dice activates. So what I'm saying here is, for every, we're getting into the advanced in a sec. So you would deploy, you take a D3 dice, which of course can be a D6, you roll it, you roll a 1, a 2, or a 3, or a 4, or 5, or 6. 1 and 2 means 1, you understand. It can be any number though. And you place that dice on the edge of the board, you know, base to base with the edge of the board. And then when you come to activate the enemy, you say this dice is activating. That dice, let's say you rolled a 6. In a D3 term, that means that's a 3. That means you then, once that dice activates, deploy 3 models. And these can be randomly generated or just, you know, whatever, just don't look as you pick up 3 models. And you might put down a model you want there, like a brawler, because actually that little D3 dice you put up was actually quite close to the enemy deployment zone. Or you might put up something you don't really want to have there, like a sniper who has a heavy weapon and can't move and has no targets. This is all about, again, taking away the onus of you having to decide what happens at every step of the game. And that's the basics of fog of war. There you go. There you go. It's just a way of randomly generating where enemies deploy. Nice. I think this can add to the initiative system very well and adds a really interesting little twist in the game. But let's get more in depth, because although that's fun, I think we can have a bit more fun with it. So when we're thinking of Fog of War Advanced, we're going to talk about blips. Oh my god, I love blips. I'll edit the video, and right now we're gonna cut to how you could deploy your 40k Genestealer Cults army. In case you don't know what a blip is, it's just a marker, right? It's just it was a 1-inch marker in 40k, and the goal of that army and that thing was that you didn't know what you were facing against, because they were coming up out of the ground, like, you know, running out of the hives of the mines, etc., drilling up from beneath the earth, etc., etc. Yeah, and because you didn't have to decide what a blip was until you decided to reveal it, until it left your deployment zone or whatever, it meant you could do a very fun thing for deployment. However, there's also Space Hulk. Now, a lot of people really like Space Hulk. Space Hulk, the way a blip works in this is that a blip would on one side was just a blip, so the Terminator player didn't know what that was, but the Genestealer player knew that it was either 1, 2, 3, 4 Genestealers, and then when the Terminators finally get sight of that blip, they know the blip's there, they don't know what the blip is. When they finally get line of sight on that blip, the blip flips and becomes the number of Genestealers that it was. And basically that's what we're doing here. Okay, so you would deploy your blips across the board however you want. Obviously a fun way, don't just think of side A versus side B. A really fun way to do this is you in the middle of the board, surrounded by blips. Okay, surrounded by blips. And then turn 1, you only have a 6-inch vision. This is, you know, that's the concept, blips. Okay, and then me going beyond that. So I'm thinking perhaps turn 1, you only have a 6-inch vision, and so you only actually get to see what the blip is when you are within 6 inches of it. This could mean, you know, like depending on how you're doing it, if you're doing random operative generation, obviously you're going to move forward with the blips when you can, so that you get close enough to reveal the blip so you can then attack. But you could also have maybe some blips which are, you could do like range blip and melee blip. So the melee blips are still going to act like MPO melee operatives, like the brawler operatives, and move forwards, whereas the range ones are going to stay at the back, and it will basically just be a 32mm base, and it can shoot into the enemy. They aren't obstructed by vision, and until you see what that is, that particular blip, maybe you're rolling on a chart, like 50-50, I mean, like, let's not get too crazy. But maybe you're saying, is it a heavy bolter or is it a sniper? Let's roll. Okay, this activation, it's this. And you'll kind of make it up until it gets revealed, because the Marines in the center don't quite know what's happening. And then turn 2, you go to a 9-inch vision. I had originally written turn 3, you expand every turn, and you can do that, of course. But actually, the kill team boards are relatively small. So if you have a 9-inch vision, you can see everything, really, right? That's fine. And then enemy hunting, this is the fun notion of what I just said there, where actually the range blip, they can shoot you even though you can't see them at all. So you kind of have to push up the board, get to within 6, 9, whatever of them, to reveal them, and then you can shoot them. So it's a quite fun idea where you have to survive the waves of blips that are moving towards you, so that you can then go out and hunt down the blips. There you go. This is a fun idea. It's all focused around the blip generation and how you can make Fog of War speak to you. But we can do more than that. Dungeon Crawler team. Kill Dungeon Team Crawler. Kill Dungeon Team Crawler, as I've just decided it's called. So here, we're taking exactly what I just said, but we're expanding it. And I am going to take it to the board in a moment and show you, hopefully a little bit more clearly, what I mean. So, blip generation again, GSC or Space Hulk style, you do you. You figure out a blip system you like, everything I just described in the previous slide, or something else that you think's fun, do that. At this point, because we're playing on a larger board, I would suggest that you continue to increase the vision. 6-inch, increasing by 3 inch every turn might not be enough. Maybe you need to double it every turn, right? Because then by turn 3, you'll see everything, but 9 inches, if you're playing on a 40k size board, isn't that big. Yeah. But it's going to be dense. There's also, yeah, so multi-board. I think if you're going to do a dungeon crawler style, it has to be a full-size board. You're either doing 40k size, which is 44 by 60, or you're doing the classic 6x4. I'm going to be honest, 6x4 is cooler, but you do you. We obviously don't all have access to that. And then there are other ways of finding out what the blip is, and you could just do cone vision. What this means is, obviously you're going to have a very dense board. We'll get to that in a moment, don't worry, I'll explain it. And you are just doing true line of sight, essentially. So if you would ever have, much like blip generation for the Space Hulk, is kind of what I would term this, is when you have a valid target on a blip, you reveal the blip. And then much like the first time, where you would have rolled a D3 to say it's this many operatives, you can do, I see it, D3, okay, it's 2 operatives. They both pop out, you know, within 3 inches of where the blip originally was. Oh, cool, it's 2 brawlers, and they're miles away. I'm going to shoot them. This is great. Or you pop out 2 heavy bolters, and they get to shoot you immediately, right? You can also think of what's happening here as like the latest XCOM games. If you remember XCOM, how could you not, basically? In XCOM 2, it's not Enemy Unknown, the other one, as soon as you revealed these blips, you just vaguely knew where they were, they then got a free move to run to where they needed to be, so you didn't just get to smash them immediately with a ranged weapon, right? They would run and hide. So you activate the blip, they move so that they're not just being dumb, and then you have to deal with them, and you can do that, and you can either put like, okay, let's have 3 Marines go this way, 3 Marines go that way, and they're basically doing their own thing, or you could run them all around together and deal with each blip as it comes up, etc., etc. And then desires. So desires is, again, behaviors. How do these blips want to operate? Do you want to define each of these blips as a melee blip, a range blip? But also, if we're now doing the full dungeon crawler size, we need more than that. They're not just aggressive blips. Some of these will be doing things. You will have objectives. Are some of them guards? Are some of them patrols? Are some of them melee? Are some of them ranged? Suddenly, you've created a very complex, a simple yet complex system. The individual mechanics you're using, very simple, very easy to use. The system it then creates, actually really complicated, but in a good way. Simple yet complex. And you suddenly have to decide, okay, am I pushing forwards and dealing with a patrol as it comes round, and dealing with the blip I just unveiled over here? Or am I hanging back, waiting for the patrol to pass, etc., etc.? Cool. And then we continue to more things. Good. So again, now we're still discussing this idea of blips and fog of war, but the dungeon crawler side of things, if you're playing on a full-size board, I suppose this should have been a second video, actually, and it should have been whatever. If people like this video, I'll expand upon this in its own thing, okay? So anyway, dungeon crawler kill team. Kill dungeon team crawler, yep. So if you're playing on this full-size board, I would strongly recommend, it's very dense, okay? You want lots of stuff going on the board, almost Necromunda style, okay, but, you know, better. And you should probably have some mission ideas beyond just stand on predefined points. So really here I'm saying, have fun with it. Don't just think, I need to tap 3 points. We can do more interesting things than that. Why tap a point? Why not move to a ruin, right? You've got your cathedral in the center of the board, or off to one side perhaps. You don't need to get to an objective marker. Objective markers suck. Don't have them in the game. Have a building, have an area defined as your point, right? Perhaps you are trying to search the ruins. You go to the cathedral first, roll a d6. Only on a 4+, 50-50. Is it actually where you need to be? If not, go to the other side where there's the oil refinery. Roll a d6, and then there's a third piece which, if it hasn't been the other two, it automatically is. Something like that, right? Normally we do that. The first one is a 5 up, the second one's a 4 up, and the third one just is, right? So it's kind of getting easier to find the thing as you go through. So yeah, search ruins. You're after a thing, could MacGuffin, whatever, but search an area, because then that area that you're searching becomes its own play piece, its own board within the larger board. There you go. Meet up and survive d6 turns. So this is kind of split your team. You've got one in one corner, one in the other corner. You have to meet in the center and then survive for X number of turns. Perhaps you're running there to push a button. A drop pod's coming down. No, not a drop pod. That'd be the other way around. The Valkyrie's flying in, right? And you've got to survive till it drops off, and then survive one turn and like move to the Valkyrie and action point on it and then take off, something like that, right? How long until the Valkyrie comes in? Dice are brilliant random number generators. It turns up in d6 turns, or 2d3 turns is probably a better way. You don't want it to turn up one turn later, that's boring. But then of course, as soon as you've done that, every blip that you didn't engage knows you're there. They all converge, right? How long can you survive? And then of course, a classic, escort the VIP. You move to the center of the board, you pick up the VIP. When you pick up the VIP, perhaps you're facing the Gene Stealer cults, and the VIP is not a friendly. It's a patriarch. It's something that controls everybody around them. Convergence. Osiris? I don't know. But yeah, there you go. Just 3 random ideas there that I think are much more interesting than the current, approved ops rules that you could do if you're doing a cool dungeon crawler. The key to think about here is I don't just need to stand on a point. I need to do an actual mission. And I think a key is also multi-step missions. So, for example, you can combine these 3. First, you need to search the ruin. So you've got to find the correct ruin. And in that ruin, then, because you would have started with 2 teams, you're searching faster. You then need to meet up, and then you escort the VIP out of that ruin. There you go. Cool. Well, these are just some ideas I've thrown at the wall, seeing what sticks. What do you think if this video gets enough views, likes, comments, engagement, all that stuff? I would love to do a much bigger, grander, how do you make Kill Team a dungeon crawler? Hopefully I've gone away and actually edited in some fun views of a cool, full-size, really dense dungeon crawler Kill Team game, which has inspired you maybe. If so, let me know. If not, if you think there's something I'm missing, because I haven't played that many dungeon crawlers. I've never really tried to do a narrative game on a full-size, 6x4 table. So is there anything I've missed on this? Do you think the fog of war isn't the way to go? Do you think there's a better way to simulate fog of war? Genuinely, let me know. I'd love to improve my gamemanship. Thank you. Bye.